I'm going to show how to fix this switch. It goes to a power wheels. This one doesn't work anymore. Now, these two pins are for the main motors, and between these two is just to brake, like slow it down by connecting the motor, short-circuiting the motors. So I pulled this one out, and there's other videos on how to take it out, so I'm not going to show that. So I have my meter to ohms, so when I touch these, it beeps. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to show it on camera, but I just touched it to these two and then pressed it down, and this one's intermittent because now it's working, but it wasn't before, so I'm just going to show you how to clean it anyways. And also, if you don't have a meter, you could run a light bulb through here. So how you take this apart, I've already taken this one apart, is you just take something like a screwdriver, the small ones are best, and this seam will be much tighter than this. It actually doesn't look like it's made to come apart, but it will if you pried it. Don't go too deep, and you do that. Should just pop apart. So here it is. So you're going to want to take each one of these out. And this here is your brake circuit between these two. So these don't break as much. It's usually just the main connectors. So I would recommend just cleaning this anyway since you're already in here. Okay. Here we go. That one's out. Now this one. And this. So these points on the end here is what we're going to clean. You can see, well, not really on, well, you kind of can, how much black stuff's on there. So now you can compress the spring, pull this out, but once it's out you don't want to let go because this whole piece will go flying. So pull it up, slowly release it. There we go. Now it's all apart. I'm definitely going to oil the spring because that's probably about to collapse from rust. Okay, so now just pop that out. So here we have all our contacts. There's that one, that one. Okay, so then you can rub it on some sandpaper. A file could also work, although it's not really as good because it might mess up the contacts even more. So what you want to get are these contact points, like right there and right there. You can see they look different. And maybe right here where it connects. So you can see there's still the blackness of the spark, so just keep sanding that until that goes away. Okay, so I'm actually using a screwdriver because the sandpaper couldn't really get in that pit, and that's pretty good. I'm just gonna sand it down one last time. And make sure to wipe this down before you put it back together. Okay, so now you just want to do that for every connecting pad. even the littler one for the brake right here. And also don't forget about the one that goes with it like that. So I'll do that off camera. So I got those sanded, and now sand these ones also. Okay, so I got all the connection points cleaned up. Although the first one I did, which was this one, has a really big pit in it. So I couldn't clean that one as good, but it should still work. So now I'm going to dry mine out because it got rained on. And also try to get all this gunk out. Okay, so new plan. I'm going to hose this out first and then dry it out. Okay, now I'm just going to dry it out. Okay, that looks pretty okay, but I forgot about the other side. Okay, so I didn't get the pieces 100% dried because there's a bunch of like crevices that I couldn't really get to, but I'd say this is good enough. Okay, so before we put this back together, I would recommend blowing these off to get rid of the sand from the sandpaper. Your mouth should be good enough. So, although it's not completely mandatory, I would highly recommend putting some dielectric grease on your connections, and that'll make them last much longer. Okay, I got kind of a lot. Should be good. Okay, and just do that with all of your connections, if you have the grease. So all of the connectors are greased, and I'm just gonna dry off some more parts here that are still wet. So for reassembly, you take, well actually first let me show you how you clip this part in, because it's a little bit confusing. Not really, but you can see there's a circle piece here. So when you clip this in, and I'll get to how to do that in a second, it has to line up with there or else it won't go in right. Okay, so now you take your button piece here, and you can see there's these slits in it. Well, first, here's the button piece, and you can see this plastic cutout here. If you push this in, it will hit against that. So this is the way you put it into the block, so make sure you memorize that. And then you get this, and you just kind of work it in here. There we go, now it's in. On both sides too. Now, you can put your contacts on, make sure the connection part is facing outwards. Just push them on there. And then you take the spring piece, which also just slides on here. There we go. So now when you load this up, you'll see this stupid thing won't focus. Okay, finally. Now, once you compress this, you'll see that part sticking out. Like I said, you have to line that up with the hole, so be ready to do that. Okay, so now you make sure it's lined up right. You can see mine is. The first thing you want to get on is this spring piece. So oops. Whew, I was just about to give up. I thought it was gone for good. Anyways, so same thing as before. There we go. This time I'm going to try to block the spring off. Almost there. No. There we go. Here we go. The problem is that this clip wants to push back, but I can't really hold it there. Okay, 2 screwdrivers holding that pin in. Should go in much easier now. There we go. Okay, now I'll pull these screwdrivers out. Okay. Make sure that this O-ring here, even though the whole case isn't sealed, so it doesn't do much, just make sure that's in place. Which it goes right there. So now, you press it, it should slide. Oh, hold on. Thing popped out of place. Okay, now, well, because the other end's not on, it's going to keep doing that. Okay, I'm going to wipe down each set of contacts because they fell a lot and were flipped, and I have a feeling there's sand on here. And that's a problem with these switches. If just a couple grains of sand, maybe even one, could stop this whole switch from working. Okay. So, first one I'm going to install will be the brake one for the brakes. So you just push it in these slots. There we go. Okay, so I messed up. Actually, you're going to need to install this piece first. This is the one that goes right next to it. It looks like this with the double contacts. So just okay, so get that under there, and then make sure if you press this that it comes into contact. It does. Now we can install this one. Get that in first because it's springy, so it's kind of hard. And it's very important, make sure that when you squeeze the button, that these two separate. So you should see what I mean. Right there. It's very important that they do that. If they don't, do not use this switch. Time for the last one. There we go.